Hey guys, welcome back to it. Hope all of you are safe and healthy. So today we are back after a very long break. Welcome back again. If you're new here, do consider subscribing if you've already done that. Thank you so much for your wonderful support. So today I'm going to share with you the experience I had in my garden when I came after a month's gap, like a whole month. No one was here to take care of the plants because it was raining, so even for watering there was no one required, and the climate was pretty good. So my plants did great on their own for the whole month. I was pretty much surprised because I never expected it to be so good. I know that in rainy seasons it's gonna grow so well, but this was definitely a great transition because there were a lot of weeds, and especially this plant has been growing in almost every pot. One major advantage and disadvantage was we definitely had a few failures. A few plants died, unfortunately, but a few plants grew so well and it was very happy to see. So I'm going to start with you with a few plants that we have in our garden. I'm going to take a tour around and show you what exactly happened, and I'm also going to share with you a few hacks that you can do it when you're going on a trip, especially during the monsoons. So first things first, we did notice was almost all the flowers bloomed so well, starting from table rose to celosia, butterfly pea, jasmine, nandyavata, and a lot of beautiful flowers, including the tiny lilies had bloomed so well, and roses too. Next, the medicinal plants, syngoniums, also had a great growth because these, look at the leaf size, I mean, like, that's tremendous. And next one we noticed was that the rose plant had grown so well. It was very surprising to look at the rose plant being so bushy and so wide and vast. Next one, we do notice that we had actually tried to graft this plant, and this is also a nandyavata plant, I believe, and we had planned to graft it, but we could notice that there are quite a lot of medicinal plants like weeds that's just grown around. So what happens is, as they keep growing, my flowering plant will actually not have enough strength. And next one, this one is an amla plant. Just like how we need shade, there are a lot of insects who try to find a new home, especially during these monsoon seasons. So just like that, they have found this amla plant, and we do see a lot of settlements in the dorsal side of the leaf. So I'm just gonna let it set for a few days or so, and then trim that off and spray neem water. Next one over here, what we are noticing is the same plant having a lot of weeds, and almost all of these are medicinal plants. So basically, these are not those types of grasses which is going to absorb water, but these are going to throw nutrients to the plant through their roots. But again, it should be only in a limit and not a lot. Next one we do notice over here is the chili plants, and I was pretty much surprised by the growth of my butterfly pea. If you could see, it's like so huge. And the next surprise was from this banana plant, and this grew so well. I mean, like, so healthy. Look at how beautiful it is. And again, this butterfly pea plant has just taken over almost all my pots. So we had almost tomatoes, potatoes, ginger, turmeric, chili in almost all these pots, and even a pomegranate plant and croton over here. But now we do notice that nothing is seen, and it's just covered by this butterfly pea plant. The next important thing is to remove of any of these types of side plants that's growing. That is very risky to keep both of them together. Main reason is these plants are going to live for a particular while, and they'll take up all the nutrients, and the main plant which we had actually planted for will not be getting that much of nutrients. So it's very important to control the weed and maintain the particular part, which of course we did not do for a few plants, and now we do notice that the growth rate of them has become very low, because for this particular season these plants should be growing well and should start fruiting and flowering, but if they're not doing so, it means that they're not getting enough nutrients. This is a custard apple plant, and it had already started blooming, and it's almost 2 years old right now, and the plastic bottle you see over there is a bottle compost. So in general, what we do is we just put the flower peels, the fruit peels out there, and then take a handful of soil from the same pot and put it over there, and with the rain the compost becomes very quick. Next, we do notice that my lemon plant is doing good, my pomegranate plant is doing good, but the sad part is my pomegranate plant, it had a lot of fruits and flowers in it, almost all of them fell, so that was very disappointing. And almost a lot of plants did not have a proper life to survive, basically because this butterfly pea was just swirling around throughout. I believe that the photosynthesis process would have slowed down because these plants the leaves did not have a space to breathe. So only if they're able to freely breathe will they be able to grow well. But when they are not, it's like choking them. And the same thing happened over here as well. My lily plants, this is the season for lily plants, and none of them grew because almost all of them are covered by these types of plants, and I'm not sure how it came. It may be through the air or the water that we watered. And next surprise and a disappointing thing was my brinjal plant is no more, because we had almost 8 to 9 fruits over here, and by the time we return back, this plant is dead. And the other plants are good, so there should definitely not be a problem with the soil, but it definitely is that the brinjal plant did not have enough room to grow, basically because of the other plants that grew well. So all these plants that we just saw are in my terrace, which has a direct access to rainwater and the sun. So the main reason is there were no wheat plants already which were existing. So these plants had a very good source of nutrients directly from the rainwater, and it started growing so well. On the other hand, the plants that we have in the base, we started adding a good amount of compost, a good amount of coco peat, a good amount of cow dung manure, and then we just dig the soil around to check if there is any excess root growth on the top layer of soil like this. So this shouldn't be the case, because this is the growth rate. It means that the plant does not have enough room to stay here. Sometimes these roots are kind of tender, so we can actually prune them. It shouldn't be a problem. But if we notice that the roots are actually coming from the base, it's going to affect them a lot. It means that they need a new home. They definitely need a new home. But for now, we're just going to prune these up, and I'm going to show you, because this wasn't the case earlier. Before a month, this 1 inch depth was completely clear, but now they have started growing roots over here too. Next important thing is to check for the soil's consistency and if it is able to hold water, and especially if it is not going to be on the top and if it has very limited source of water. All I do is just press the sand in my hand and see if it is kind of falling loose. That's the perfect consistency for any type of flowering plant that we do. Next important thing is we need to give aeration for the roots. So this has to be done at least once a week, and once a week is good. I am taking a metal rod over here. You can use wooden sticks or anything that's going to be a little strong. We got to dig very carefully inside to get the air out. And next, this is ash from coconut shells and newspapers and cardboard. So these were burnt and poured, or placed over here, so that this is again a very, very important source to keep the insects and snails away. We collect the rainwater to store it, and we use it for the plants that we have in the indoors, and that is very, very important. If you have rainwater harvesting and that's collected in a tank, well, that's great. But if you do not have such a provision, maybe you can collect it in little bins, and then you can start placing them in and around your pot, so that way the plants will get adapted to the water and they'll get good amount of nutrients. And weed control was next important thing. So these types of forest grasses or something like that has to be removed. We need to understand what type of plant it is before we remove it. Next, succulents can also be placed outside. So these plants were placed outside. It's a little disappointing to see the color, that it's a little dirty, but again, it's so happy and satisfying to see they have given pups, so they are nice. Next one over here is my money plant. So over here we have placed a rod that is covered with jute rope, and that jute rope has a property to absorb and retain moisture. We could notice that the leaves are pretty good, like they are thicker and they are longer. The size of the leaves have become bigger, quite thicker and nice, and they look very, very healthy. Few of them, yes, it shows that there is too much of water, but still it's a good growth. This water pennywort, which is kept in a terracotta pot, dried off completely because the water dried off, but there were few stems that were stuck to the vermicompost, and luckily we could retain the plant. This was a jade plant which we had kept it in a balcony, and you could see that the roots have started coming off from the stems that was broken. Maybe it just broke off during the winter monsoons, and they started growing into a new plant. So the main thing that we need to consider in every plant is the soil condition or soil type. So whatever is available to you, we need to alter the soil according to the plant. We need to know the condition of the plant, if it will survive well, in which type of weather it will survive, and that way we are going to be successful in our gardening. Hope this video was useful. Please do let me know your suggestions in the comments box below so that we can actually learn. And thank you so much. Meet you guys in the next video. Until then, namaste.